News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM WPRO presents The Coalition with hosts Pat Ford and Dane Fisher. Join them now for their signature brand of smash mouth, no holds barred, no topic too controversial political talk. Join their nuanced discussions of local, state, and national politics and opinions that lie well outside the political mainstream. Now, here's Pat Ford and Dane Fisher.
And yes, we are the Coalition, loud and proud, civilly disobedient radio, outrage porn free. Live on AM 630 WPRO 99.7. Facebook.com/The Coalition. The mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio. And of course, our live blog /streaming/multimedia, omnimedia, supermedia website, designed by my co-host, of course, www.coalitionradio.us. Dave, another crazy week here in Little Rhodey.
Yeah. I mean, Mattiello pretty much handed away the store on the budget. All the lousy proposals that Gina made basically made their way through regarding Commerce Corporation, tuition reimbursement, all those bad things.
Yeah, it's just... it's the proverbial Titanic. The band is about to strike up "Near My God" to the any minute now. It's just going to crash and burn.
My absolute most ridiculous outrage happened yesterday, which is the legislators and sitting and former legislators that are lining up to offer clemency and lenience to Mr. Gordon Fox.
Edie Aiello, who, I've always thought highly of. I may disagree with some of her politics, but I always thought her of a woman of integrity, is clearly playing the personality card here. For her to go to the mat, if you will, for this guy, you expect it from, Paulie Walnuts. When he came back, when he made his triumphant return, you expected the Hosanna, ho moment. You get that they're all, there's a term for it. It begins with a word and ends with buddies. They all hang out down at the Union Hall together. You see that coming, but for the liberal goddesses and gods of our society here in Little Rhode Island, if you're going to bless it with that term, the icons, if you will, to get up and beg clemency for a guy who screwed this state to the wall. I just don't get it. Well, explain, Lucy. Explain.
My first inclination was I put out a small poll to our Facebook constituency, and saying, should this guy get some type of lenience? Your choices being send a message, maximum sentence. The guy's lost everything. 3 years seems like enough, or somewhere in between. Overwhelmingly. Now I've only got about 15 responses on this, but 73% at this point. 11 of the people say maximum sentence, send a message.
Is there is there an island off of Rhode Island that we can send people like this to?
Yeah, what's that little one with that's underneath the Newport Bridge? It's one house on there.
Do we have our own little penal colony here in the great state of Rhode Island? It's kind of astonishing and horrifying yet to watch. I've always described Rhode Island as our own little personal driver's ed movie, except you wake up one day and you're in the passenger seat and you're hopelessly out of control. I have no empathy for this person. I personally, anyone who's lived in this state has had to deal firsthand with the devastating financial and philosophical results of these people being in power. Whether it be the terrible schools, whether it be the crumbling infrastructure, whether it be the inability to attract businesses to get gainful employment for our folks, these are a direct byproduct of the day-to-day behavior of the Nikki Mattiello and the Gordon Foxes, and now I guess I've got to include the Edith Aiellos of the world, because clearly they've lost complete perspective. They've clearly been up on Smith Hill too long. They clearly believe this is all just a bunch of, hail fellows, over at the club, and, everybody's on a first. And remember, one of the big problems with Rhode Island, it's not Nikki Mattiello, it's Nikki, who I went to fill-in-the-blanks high school with. It's not Gordon Fox, I went to classical with Gordon. Or, any one of these guys folks are so desperate to assimilate some meaning into their lives that they assign themselves some level of a personal relationship with the people who are literally picking their pockets on a day-to-day basis. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, leniency, right? They want to give this guy 3 years. He took a bribe for $50,000 and misused over $100,000 in campaign funds.
Mm-hmm.
If someone now, I can't say this because I didn't donate to his campaign, but that's $100,000. If somebody basically scammed you out of a bunch of money and then you didn't use it for what they told you they were going to use it for, that's fraud, right?
Yeah, in some circles.
But I mean, that's fraudulent behavior.
Absolutely, and these guys literally have feathered their nest for generations now. And by the way, it's all parties. I'm no longer going to let any of the individual political parties off the off the reservation, if you will, because ultimately it just strikes me that all of them, given the opportunity, play the same game.
And it's coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Whether it be 38 Studios, whether it be any one of the fiascos, we've got with one or two notable exceptions, the political opposition in this state is a complete no-show, and they've actually sold themselves out to the Democratic majority. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But it's what someone close to me once said. It's a terrible, terrible turn of events. So there you have it. So how do people vote in this poll if they would like to take the opportunity?
You can find it on our homepage. There's an embed link right out to the Facebook poll there. You can find it on our Facebook page, of course, and numerous other groups and different Facebook pages around the state that we refer to as our milk run, when we go out and promote things.
Right, and here's the point: vote many times, vote often. Unfortunately, one vote.
No, you only get one vote.
One vote per IP address. Okay.
Yep.
So if you can vote at work,
if you have a tablet and a smartphone, and
right, and do make the coalition your homepage, because what else are you going to use as your homepage? Is there anything else that matters?
Do people still have homepages?
They do.
Mine just says Google.
Okay. Well, we've got let's go down the lineup of guests we've got for today. First off, going to be joining us very shortly is
Representative Patricia Morgan, Deputy Minority House Leader.
Okay. And
after that, in our second segment, we're going to have David Norton, who is just started a group called Organizing for Pawtucket. That's kind of pushing a keep the paw socks in Pawtucket kind of thing, and he'll actually be talking to us about what they're doing, and they do have a pretty special event coming up this week, and we'll be talking about that too.
All right, and then also going to be joining us in the third segment of the show is Ariana, who's with Superstar Vapor Pen, our newest sponsor. And by the way, we want to salute all of our sponsors, the fine folks at Beacon Shipping, the finest Jamaican cuisine anywhere,
this side of Jamaica,
inside of Jamaica. Our friends over, what do they call it? The Jewelry District, right? Do they still call it the Jewelry District?
I thought it was the Knowledge District.
The Knowledge District. Of course, the Halfway Cafe. And then, of course, our latest sponsor, the fine people at Superstar Vapor Pen, who not only have tobacco substitutes, but it's become clear that they're going holistic and joining us with some of the, I'll call it the medicinal versions of marijuana / cannabis / whichever variety you feel like calling it.
Right.
So, anyway,
also a stop smoking aid too. They have nicotine and things like that.
Right. Have you partaken? Have you vaped?
I have used a vape before, and actually, when I talked to Lisa from Superstar Vapor Pens just earlier today, I said, I'm a chronic trying to quit smoking guy. So if you want to help me out, why don't you send me one? And she agreed to send me a promo copy, so I'll have a review of their product within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Are we going to juggle the lineup a little bit?
Looks like we have David Norton on the line right now, so
okay.
we're gonna switch things up a little bit. David, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. I have to ask you, first of all, just because I've never met you face-to-face, but I know you from Facebook. Is your name actually David Franklin Delano Norton?
No, it isn't.
Okay. That's your
Facebook
alias.
I added the Franklin Delano to let people know that I'm on the progressive side.
Okay. I just thought that would be great if that was your full legal given name. So welcome to the coalition.
I'm changing it, yes.
So tell us a little bit about your group. We mentioned it at the top of the show, this organizing for Pawtucket. Obviously, a lot revolving around McCoy Stadium and the Paw Sox these days. So kind of, what spurred you into action, and tell us, how people can get involved.
Well, we started it just 6 weeks ago, and I started it because I was really frustrated with seeing so much clear opposition to this stadium deal, but such tone-deaf political leaders at the State House.
And that surprised you?
Well, when you look at that 98% number, it's really, really sinking into me that, like you just said, and that surprised you. I've lived out of Rhode Island for a long time. I was born and raised here, but I lived abroad for many years, and I came back just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really used to this political situation. But that number, 98%, is just astounding.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we've been trying to do our part to fire people up and have them call their legislators, call House Finance.
Yep.
I think one of the things that we're really lacking here is, rather than hire a consultant for the State House, why did we not just hire a polling company to make a bunch of phone calls and do that? I mean,
absolutely.
Short of having any kind of voter initiative, those phone calls are becoming, largely the only voice you have.
Yep, and I was on the Baseball RI page the other night. I don't know if you know that's
from
ownership.
The shill page.
Yes, the shill page.
Absolutely.
Cleverly disguised as info media. It takes a tone not dissimilar to I think one of the legends of TV, the ShamWow guy. I think isn't he going to be the next webmaster for Baseball RI?
So you were saying, David, about the Baseball RI page?
Yeah, so I was on there the other day, and there are just 2 or 3 supporters on that page. But I was talking to the admin, and the admin had said that the 98% number was not scientific. And I corrected him there. I said, this wasn't a survey and it wasn't a poll. This was actually democracy in action. These
Right.
were people calling up of their own volition and telling the governor that they were opposed to it.
Right.
But they disagreed, as they have been. I've been on it for the past couple of days, and it's just incredible, that 98% number.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, given if you have your ear to the ground at all on this issue, the vastly overwhelming feedback has been negative. Either stay in Pawtucket or leave the state, and that's pretty much the only options that the citizens of this state, the residents of Rhode Island, are putting out there, as far as I've seen.
Yeah, we've been knocking on doors, and we've got petitions in local businesses, and we even have waitresses in restaurants running around to the tables and collecting signatures. So
wow.
People are really intense about this in Pawtucket.
I can imagine, yeah.
They're very motivated, and if we dug deeper into that 98% number, I think we would find that people don't only not want to give them $120 million, they wouldn't give them $1.
Right.
It's just a total insult to the people of Pawtucket.
And this has been one of my issues, with our quote leaders on this issue is, I want to know, I don't want you to tell me I need to see a study. I want to hear, what do you think is a fair deal?
Yep.
As a voter, as a constituent, as a resident of Rhode Island, what would you, as a taxpayer, what would that fair deal look like to you? And you get the same pat answer every time, which is, oh, well, we have to wait and see what's on the table and, see what kind of economic impact versus yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, just tell me. Just say, oh, I think a couple of $1 million a year is acceptable, or I think 0 is acceptable, or I think what they said is acceptable.
Yeah, and I think in order to evaluate any fair deal, we would need to see the secret feasibility study.
Right.
Or the imaginary feasibility study, because as far as I know, nobody's seen it.
Well, and isn't that right alongside the imaginary other towns that were willing to bid up for the Pawtucket Red Sox? I mean, having the lie been,
absolutely.
We've seen the lie put to that, and it is a lie. an outright lie and a damnable lie. New Bedford has no interest. Fall River has no interest. Worcester has no interest in supplying 1 shekel, not 1 red cent, to these individuals. And yet, the conventional wisdom, the big lie, the talking